Welcome to Bury Talent, the show for young professionals that tears down false beliefs about faith and work so you can unbury your God-given talent right where you are. I'm Ken Freire, and today I am back with my co-host, Patrick Lowndes, and we're talking about building optionality in your 20s. Patrick, man, we're finally back together after the holidays, recording, co-hosting, championing the Bury Talent podcast once again. How you doing, man?
It's good to be back with you. I know we're almost a whole month into this, but yeah, it's so fun to be back and had a good time with the family. Did some conferences as well over the break, so kind of like not really that much of a break in some ways, but overall just energized for the narrative here we get to tell and just the people we get to inspire. So I'm really pumped about today's topic.
Yeah, and it's a topic that I think as you and I were just talking about it before the show, we're like, this is something people need. And it's really, really important for them to be like, how do you actually understand the longer range direction of your marketplace calling? So just kind of walk us through what you're thinking and how we're going to walk through the conversation today.
Yeah. Well, again, every episode we try to hit on the core lie. What is the lie that we see young professionals, even more mid-career professionals experiencing, and especially the first, let's say, 3 to 5 years of your career? There's this lie that says, well, if I'm doing well, I should be making $100,000 or more and probably leading people. Some people audaciously would say like within a year or two, right? Like I'm just leadership material. It's going to happen. And there's one side of that which is like, okay, cool. Thanks for your optimism. Maybe you do have some examples where you've been an effective leader in the past. And that can happen. It's not like it can't happen, but the lie is I should. It is the should be doing this, should be doing that. And I think just in general, if you're in your 20s, that's kind of just setting you up for disappointment. So we're going to hit on that lie today.
Yeah. And to be clear too, there are some roles that you may make 100K, but there's a lot of entry level roles that most people coming out of college are not going to make 100K. And there's a difference between what you may need because you're trying to live and stuff and like have a lavish lifestyle versus like what is the marketplace offering you for your skill sets. And there's a gap there that we're going to talk about and figure out how to fill that gap at some point. But today it's really like, how do we actually walk through this lie?
Yep. And specifically, like we assume that you have already probably taken our clarity of calling assessment. You probably thought more deeply about God, where do you want me? How do you want to use me more long range? And so this first part about building optionality is going to be focused on today's topic of going deep. How could I get my depth first? And then next, part 2 of this little 2-part series, we're going to unpack how do you build your breadth in your optionality. This first one, like if you skip this episode and just go straight to the next one, like you're just going to miss out on a bunch of stuff. So we're going to just lean into those real issues that the lie creates. So Ken, do you want to kick us off with some of the first couple of issues?
Yeah, the first couple of issues with what this lie creates is one, false timelines, right? You expect outcomes before formation. The reality is that when you jump into a new setting, the goal of it is like it's forming your character, it's forming your ability, you're growing a new skill set, and you can't measure that just simply by saying, oh, well, here's the outcome, I should be here already. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen within your life first.
Yep. And specifically skills, that's number 2, shadow skill development. Like you're optimizing for what job title or how can I get my pay to a certain spot before you've achieved any level of mastery, right? Which is why we talk about depth and becoming like a student of your craft. Like, do you see it as a craft, right? Or is it just a obligatory stepping stone on the path? So we're going to hit on some of that and some positive examples of how to build optionality. But give us number 3, Ken.
Yeah. Number 3 is just chronic dissatisfaction. If you think you're supposed to be at a certain stage and you're not, right? The proverb talks about this, like a longing fulfilled is a tree of life, but like a heart man, I just botched it. Heart, what is it? I can't remember now. But basically saying like, when your desires are not met, it's just like, oh gosh, it's dry to the bones. You're sad, but a
hope
longing
deferred makes the heart sick. Is that
there
it?
you go. Hope deferred. Yes.
There you go.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life.
There we go. Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what happens here. Chronic dissatisfaction. And you have to make sure that you realize that every role is going to be temporary, but it cannot be beneath you. It's
That's
a
right.
stepping stone to the next step.
Yep. And we'll give some examples about this a little bit later on about mastery. But let's go to the fourth one is premature leadership desire, right? You want to have that title, you want to have that influence, right? And you want to be able to say, I look what I can do. And like, can we just do like a pride check for a second? Like, where does that come from? Is it like, oh, I just want to lay myself down and serve everyone really well in a form, but like as their manager? 9 times out of 10, it's like, no, like I freaking want to get that title and I just want to put that on my LinkedIn and show people, look at how fast and it's like, check your heart, especially we're speaking to Christians here. Jesus says, yeah, you want to lead? Yeah, jump in the back seat and shovel poop, basically. Get in the worst roles, like do the hard work. And the leader is the one actually washing feet, not the one updating their LinkedIn title.
Yeah. Which
Anyway.
leads to, I think, career drift, which is the fifth one that this lie creates, is that if you are not doing the thing you feel called to do, or you're not getting the title or the money, you're like, well, I guess I need to find another job. And job hopping feels wise. There is time that job hopping is good, but most of the time, and especially the younger generation, they hop every, now it was 2 to 3 years. Now it's like 18 months. You're hopping. And the reality is that like there's actually some skills and development you need if you just stick with something long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why this whole first part about optionality is talking about depth, because the deeper you go in mastering your job number one, the deeper you go creates more optionality, because people see this person is already not just barely competent, but this person is exceedingly competent at one thing, right? And it's the exceedingly competent people that leaders want to look to give more, expand their skill set, use them in different ways. Ken, can you just give us real quick 4 examples in the Bible? It's 4 because we already came up with these, but what are some examples of people taking some time to form, just so people know they're in good company? Like they're not all by themselves here when we say like, hey, like pause a little bit, get depth. Who are some
Yeah.
examples?
Well, I think the first one I think of obviously is Jesus. Before he jumped into ministry, he had spent 30 years. So that's huge right there. The second one is Moses. He spent 40 years in the wilderness. Think about it. He was a prince of Egypt, then he kills someone, and then he's in the wilderness before God uses him for freeing the people of Israel. Another one is King David. King David, he was anointed king when he was a teenager, and it was like 17 years later before he becomes king. Right?
Wow.
Imagine someone tells you you're going to become king. You think it's going to be like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
17 years, right? Like, it's a lot. And then
Yeah.
Paul, the apostle, right? Years of obscurity after his conversion, that there were like 14 years where, if I remember, he was in Galatia, like preparing. He was still doing ministry, but there was a lot of different things that he was doing in preparation that sometimes we think, oh, this just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
No, there was time being built.
Yep. So we want to, just you're in good company, right? Get some formation first. And so you're like, that sounds good at a high level, Patrick. Shoot it straight to me. I'm almost done with my drive, my workout, my lunch. Like, give me 5 ways to make this stick. And we're going to
Yeah.
deliver on that promise for you, as we always do, right, Ken? So, Ken, give us a first skill, and we'll just ping pong on these 5 skills to pursue depth first in your.
Yep. So the first one is choose one core skill to master. So this is like pick the center of gravity of your role. Like I am going to master whatever it is, whether it's sales. If you're in a sales role, that means learn how to persuasion or pipeline ownership, right? Whatever it takes, skill set you need to just become a master at your craft. It might be engineering. It might be ops. Just think about, if I were to be excellent at one thing here, what would it be? So that people could see and be like, wow, I want to be just like that.
That's right. Number 2, commit to staying long enough for compounding. All right. A lot of people get in their mind, their mental model is like, yeah, I'm going to be here for like a year, maybe a year and a half, and then I'm going to do something. I met a guy who just started a job and he's like, yeah, I'm actually going to try to be here 4 years, because that's at that point, yeah, there's some stock options and things like that. But he took this longer range. So like, I want to let my skill set compound. So you got to think a little bit broader. And then what that will do is create better optionality, because you're not going to be always looking over your shoulder. You're going to be focused on one role. And the best time to be searching for your next role is when you're happy and high performing in your current one, right? It's the best time to be looking for a job. If you ever felt like, hey, maybe this first job is not the right one. So that's number 2, commit to staying long enough for compounding.
Yep. Which then leads to number three, measure progress by trust, not titles. And
Mm,
this is going to feel counterintuitive, but this is kind of going back to what Patrick was saying. Like leaders in a biblical sense is all about serving, not being served, right? So questions you got to ask yourself is like, do leaders rely on me? Do teammates come to me? Like when you measure progress by how much trust you have, all of a sudden you realize I'm an expert in the field. I'm actually capable of doing what God's called me to do, and I've mastered this thing. This is where real promotion starts to happen. When you
yeah.
want, if you really want a promotion, don't politics, right? Don't try to like persuade and always try to like have these conversations. Like, can people actually trust you when things get hard?
Yeah. I'm going to give you a real example. I was eating dinner with a friend, and we were out there with our families talking. And he's a really senior, like architect level, like software guy at NVIDIA, actually. So like massive company, right? And I said, hey, what's the difference between like a true like junior developer and like someone who's like senior, who's like ready to get promoted, be a team lead, all that kind of stuff? And he says, oh well, the most obvious one, which goes back to this like building trust, is like a junior level person is picky about what projects and work they work on. A senior level person is just like, I don't care what it is, just give it to me. I want to figure it out. I want to be about solving the problem in the team, even if it's something that everyone else kind of begrudges, right? And usually, like in an engineering sense, it's like you're not working on the shiny new feature. You're like figuring out why things are broken, right? And it's not as fun. But he's like, oh, yeah, someone that's willing to take on anything. It's how you build trust, right? Like, put me in, coach. Like, let me get in there and solve something for you. Everybody wants that kind of person, and it builds trust where the promotion happens. Okay, number four, kill the 12-month fantasy timeline. I like this. So, again, if leadership is earned through building trust and repeated action of building trust, you might be thinking, I don't know if you've listened to bloggers or people talking about trying to angle for career promotions or whatever their performance review timeline is. There certainly is a real thing about making sure your value is known before a certain performance review. But hey, within 12 months, you're probably landing at some awkward time in that performance window anyway. So just do yourself a favor and make that 24 months, right? Just throw it out there and say, hey, I got to get past my first one. It's really probably my second review after they've seen me operate for a year and then some, that I actually can demonstrate more of what I'm capable of. And so I would just try to alleviate that 12-month fantasy timeline by just doubling that. I would say that's number four.
Yeah. And then the last one is number five, let mastery create range. And again, this might feel counterintuitive, but what we're talking about, that when you go deeper, the deeper you become an expert, then you start to realize what are the actual other skill sets you need. And that's the goal here.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. When you find out that you're really good at one thing, usually these tangential or adjacent things become more interesting. You're like, oh, every time I talk with, if you're a technical person, every time I talk with that product or product marketing person, I always just come alive. Like, pay attention to where you're coming alive. And we're going to talk a lot about that on part two. But that, I mean, Ken, that is our quick, like, the first part of building optionality is you need to drive depth first, and then later we'll get to this other part about looking at all the options. But man, if you're not crushing it where you're at, like you're just distracted, right?
Absolutely. And that's where the goal is, go deeper and then you can go wider.
Awesome.